Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Leslie Kean, the reporter who, along with Ralph Blumenthal, broke the 2017 Pentagon UFO videos for the New York Times, is now saying that the Varginha UFO incident was real and that there was an alien organism found in a police officer who later died. Of course, this 1996 Varginha UFO incident, which involved something crashing and aliens seen in the streets, and one of them was apparently still alive and captured and then died later. This was the subject of James Fox, the documentary filmmaker's movie Moment of Contact, which was recently released. And now we have Leslie Kean, who is a pretty respected reporter when it comes to this subject, being that she is one of the people responsible for the 2017 article that really got this whole movement moving toward disclosure, and she's also the person who had talked with initially reported about David Grush and some of his assertions. But anyway, here's an article from Hows and Whys, and this is reporter Vicky Verma. Vicky, he has a lot of different articles on UFOs. He does a pretty good job, and I will leave the link so you can check it out for yourself. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I'm going to go through the important parts here. He's talking about David Grush in the beginning, and Leslie Kean, how she was recently on an episode of a podcast called Really, and it says here, in a recent episode of the podcast show Really, investigative journalist Leslie Kean discussed the baffling case of the 1996 Varginha UFO crash, shedding new light on this astonishing incident that has captured the imagination of UFO enthusiasts worldwide. Joining hosts Tom Wheeler and Dave Foley, Kean delved into the incredible claims surrounding the event and the efforts to uncover the truth. The conversation began with Tom and Dave mentioning Moment of Contact, where Leslie Kean confirmed the involvement of the United States military in the Varginha incident. Kean emphasized that her sources had indeed confirmed the military's role in moving materials out of Brazil, validating the incident as it has been described. I just want to stop there for a second. Of course, there has been discussion that the United States military got involved in this case, along with Brazilian officials, and they actually moved materials out of Brazil after this incident happened. And there's some proof that goes along with that, which we'll get into later. Anyway, it says here, the Varginha case revolves around a reported crashed UFO in Varginha, Brazil, that happened in 1996, where many locals claim to have seen two alien creatures captured by the Brazilian military. According to Kean, one creature was dead, while the other one was still alive. According to the report, the encounter involved two military police officers who came across a creature running in front of their vehicle. One of the officers, Marco Cherez, supposedly captured the creature with his bare hands, but later suffered from an infection that turned out to be fatal. Now, this was something that was mentioned in that documentary movie, Moment of Contact. But there's other things that she talks about here that I haven't heard before. Anyway, it says, Kean revealed that she personally spoke with the doctors who had treated the police officer before his tragic demise. She said, the circumstances of his death are really shocking. He had this little cut on his shoulder from having grabbed this entity when it was alive, and it cut him. Then he got a horrific infection and no antibiotics would work. The veteran Brazilian doctor she spoke to, known for his expertise in autopsies, had never encountered anything like that, indicating the severity and uniqueness of the situation. Kean further expressed her intent to uncover more details about the mysterious infection, including collaborating with Stanford professor Gary Nolan to understand the organisms involved. According to Kean, one of the organisms found during the autopsy was typically exclusive to animals, raising questions about its presence in the human body. Speculating on the implications, she pondered whether such an organism could be linked to extraterrestrial life. Though the records were limited, Kean indicated that the case presented numerous fascinating avenues for investigation. Of course, yes, it still does. There's most certainly some avenues for investigation. This case were a lot of witnesses to this. I mean, if you saw that movie Moment of Contact, there were people that James Fox had interviewed that actually saw one of these creatures alive, hiding in a corner in this village in Varginha. Continuing here, it says, as the hosts probed further, Kean mentioned the witnesses involved in the case. While she primarily focused on autopsy reports and discussions with medical professionals, James Fox conversed with several military personnel connected to the incident. The presence of credible military sources added depth to the credibility of the accounts. And then this article talks about a doctor who had seen one of the aliens. Dr. Italo Venturelli, a neurosurgeon from Regional Hospital, was shown a video of the Varginha alien by another physician. Researchers Marco Leal and Jorge Marcelo interviewed Dr. Venturella to inquire about the day the creature was brought to his hospital. He clarified that he had not performed any surgery on the alien. Dr. Venturelli discussed the situation with a colleague and showed him the video of the alleged extraterrestrial. He stressed that he did not personally witness the extraterrestrial, but heard about it from a younger colleague who unfortunately passed away later. So basically this doctor saw video of it. He didn't see the alien with his own eyes, but he saw the video of the alien that his colleague, who later passed away, had shown him. Anyway, continuing here, it says, describing the video, Dr. Venturelli mentions seeing military personnel, but is unsure of its origin or if it was manipulated. He describes the creature as having a whitish appearance, a thin chest, a large head with angular features, and 3 small protrusions on the eyes. The creature had large reddish eyes, almost no neck, thin arms, and was capable of moving its torso. But it was a hominid, right? A small man, right? It was not our size. I am 180 centimeters tall. It was much smaller. As I said, I did not see the legs. I saw them covered here, right? It had a thin chest, a short neck, and the head was like a drop. And there were bumps on the head, and the eyes were red, Venturelli said. He mentioned that the creature was alive in the video and appeared normal without signs of suffering. However, he could not discern many details as the video was very short, only 15 to 20 seconds. And then it goes into the nature of the Varginha aliens. It says, on November 7th, 2022, Mr. Fox shared one of the possibilities on what the biological chemistry of these Varginha creatures could be. And this was in a tweet on Twitter. He said, these creatures could be made of different chemistries than other life forms on Earth. Hypothetically, there could be ammonia-based and silicon-based life forms instead of water and carbon. In moment of contact, there was a particular set of consistently reported characteristics about the crash site and creatures that might shed light on the biological chemistry of alien creatures. There are some points that corroborate the above theory, according to which the Varginha creatures could be oxidizing ammonia-based life forms. A crash site that smelled strongly of something like ammonia and had what appeared to be a chemical fire encircling the wreckage. 2 creatures left a strong ammonia-like scent that did not go away with cleaning and lingered for many days. But here's the part right here in the story that is very interesting. The fact that this got it was classified. It was the records on this in Brazil were supposed to be opened up after 25 years, but guess what? They reclassified it. They don't want this information released to the public. And it goes on here. It says, Reddit user Pepper Blue has found that the future of the Varginha incident appears to be veiled in secrecy for an extended period. The incident should have been declassified and made available to the public 25 years after its occurrence. However, for the first time in Brazilian history, the military fought to renew the top-secret non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, related to the Varginha incident, and succeeded in doing so. As a result, the incident that was supposed to be declassified in 2021 will only be made available to the public in 2046, 50 years after its occurrence. The justification given for reclassifying the incident is external threat to the nation's sovereignty and to the integrity of the national territory, as well as severe risk to our country's international relationships. And it goes on to say, this suggests that the Brazilian military considers the information related to the Varginha incident to be of significant importance, potentially impacting national security and international relations. Let me just stop there for a second. Obviously, you see what's going on here. Okay. If they release this information, of course, this is going to go against whatever kind of agreement that the Brazilian government has with the United States with regard to keeping these things secret from the public. I mean, obviously, there's some sort of agreement that was made in the past with various countries, and the United States is involved, seems to be the lead on this, right? And if that's what their justification was because they're considered, this could have our international relations would suffer if we were to tell the truth about this. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, okay, there were witnesses to this, right? Those witnesses, they moved on through life, a lot of them, right? They're still around. A lot of them were talking in that moment of contact documentary. to James Fox. Okay, you know, they're okay. Well, why can't the rest of the world know this? I mean, they saw these things with their own eyes. How come they're allowed to know? They're allowed to see this stuff, but oh no, this never really happened. We can't tell the rest of the world about this. Oh my God, no. But if you're a witness, right, the witnesses don't have any problem with it, right? It's because they. It seems it's obvious, right? It seems like the main concern here is the reverse engineering aspects. Again, to me, this whole nonsense about ontological shock and all that kind of stuff, to me, I just don't. I'm just not buying it. I mean, people see these things. People who never believed it before, and then they encounter them and they see them and they talk about it, and they don't. It's not their lives are. You know, it's not like they're going crazy, right? A lot of them don't talk about it, of course, too. But at the same time, that's because of the stigmatization problem that surrounds this. But anyway, let's finish up this article. It says, the fact that the NDA was renewed for 50 years indicates that the Varginha incident is perceived as extremely sensitive and classified at a higher level than other similar cases, such as Operation Prato's initial NDA, which lasted only 20 years. Brazilian ufologists, the press, and citizens have attempted to access the information before, but they were informed about the 50-year NDA on the event. The document linked provides additional context regarding the request for releasing the information and the conclusion that the incident will remain classified until 2046. And guess what's going to happen in 2046? If this continues like this and we don't get disclosure here in America, right? If somehow the secret control group wins in 2046, right? When this comes up again, guess what? The Brazilian government will again, the military in Brazil will again do the same thing, and they'll get another 25 years added onto it, or who knows, maybe 50 years. Let's make it an even 100. You know, the sovereignty of our nation and our international relations will suffer if we don't do that. You know, we can't let the dum-dums out there of the world, like the regular folks, right? The people who put us in these positions, we can't let those people know what's going on. We can't let them know the truth, right? I mean, they're only our bosses. They're only the ones who are paying the bill, right? We can't let our bosses know what's going on. I mean, people forget this all the time, right? I mean, we are in charge. It's the people who are in charge. It's the people who put these people in positions of power in the first place. But yet, for some reason, right, we have to deal with nonsense like this. On one of the biggest issues of all time, right? The reality that there's an extraterrestrial presence here, and sometimes things go wrong with their craft. Not often, right? Not like some people in the mainstream media seem to think but every now and then things do go wrong, right? And then we are the people we put in place in charge, right? They go in and cover it all up and don't tell us about it. Boy, it's very, very upsetting when you really think about it. Very upsetting. Anyway. Moving on, I want to talk about something else. I want to go back. I want to revisit the Vegas alien incident. I haven't talked about that for a while. Again, nobody to this point. I've been waiting for a while now for some debunker to step forward with the evidence to show that, hey, that was all a big hoax. Well, guess what? It's been a while now. It's August 1st today, and this incident was made known to the public late in May, and then in June. That was when it was talked about. You know, a couple of months have gone by. We really haven't gotten anywhere. The original investigator, a podcaster named Doug Papa from Vegas, came out not long ago, a few weeks back, saying declaring that it was a hoax, and that was the name of his video. I've talked about this before. I'm not going to get into it again. I watched that podcast. It was over an hour and 40 minutes long, and I was waiting for the reveal of how this was a hoax, and it never happened. I think the guy just got frustrated because he couldn't get anywhere with it and just moved on, because obviously the family doesn't want to talk about this anymore. The only one in that family apparently was some teenage kid named Angel, as we all know. But anyway, one of my YouTube followers, Mr. Grey Owl, has he was looking at some of the video that I had in some of my previous shows. When I had Scott Roeder, crime scene reconstruction expert, come on, and he was talking about this Vegas alien, and he basically isolated a little segment where they were both where some of the family members were going into the yard. It looked like the father and the angel and his angel's brother were about to go into the yard, and then they backed out all at the same time really quick, because there was something there. It looked like there was some sort of a being moving toward them. And Scott Roeder isolated that little segment. It was only like a second or two long. He isolated that to show that, yes, there looks like there was something there. It corroborated what they were saying, that there was 8 to 10 foot tall beings there that were not human. They said, according to Angel at the time, he said that they were alien. And they had big eyes and big mouths. Now, Mr. Grey Owl has, he took that little segment and he enhanced it, zoomed in on it, and to try to get a better look at that face. And I think it's pretty compelling. Again, it shows, I think it's corroboration to what those people were saying. You could see in this little segment, he did it with, it's in color here. There's a still image. You can see what it looks like. And then he put a GIF together where it just on a loop, basically showing this where the head was moving. That little piece of video, he zoomed in on that, and you can see where that head's moving, and you can make out one of the eyes. He inverted the video in a different GIF. And as you look at this stuff here on screen, basically what you're seeing is a closer shot of that head that was in between, that was right marching toward those people as they were going into the yard. But this is just a closer shot of it. And I was talking back and forth with Mr. Grey Owl in emails about this, and I said to him that it doesn't look like what this thing, it does not look like insectoid to me. It looks more reptilian or dinosaur-like. I mean, and it actually, if you look at it close to me, it looks like it has almost like a snake-like mouth on the bottom that goes starts at the jawline and goes right across, and almost like something like Dino, almost from the Flintstones. I mean, it's very strange looking, and you could also see, particularly in the inverted version, you can see where the one eye, well, it's to the right on the video, but it would be the creature's left eye. It looks to me like this, and it looks like it's moving, just like Scott Roeder said, but this is a closer version of it that Mr. Grey Owl has provided to me, and I just thought it was interesting, and I thought it would be something to share. Well, recently, another thing I want to point out is I found a story. I recently was at the Kecksburg UFO Festival. They have an annual festival there. I did a podcast about that, a little show that I put together on what it was like being there. I interviewed Stan Gordon. He's probably the biggest researcher ever to look into the Kecksburg incident. He's mostly known for that, but he's also in Pennsylvania. He's always been investigating UFO sightings, humanoid sightings, Bigfoot sightings. He has come out with 4 different books. And while I was at that Kecksburg Festival, I bought his 4th book while I was there, Creepy Cryptids and Strange UFO Encounters of Pennsylvania. And there was a case in there that I thought sounded similar. It was a recent case, too, that sounded similar to the Vegas alien incident. And I wanted to share this incident to you. Again, I'll leave the link so you, in the description. So if you're interested in getting this book, you could check it out there. But anyway, this is from page 173, and and he talks about a case from August 2020. It was a nice day in August of 2020 that the witness decided to take a hike through a wooded area of Jefferson County, a few miles from Cook Forest. And then I'm going to skip forward here. It says, the hiker had made his way deeper into the woods when he entered a small valley. The man was looking ahead when he noticed something that caught his attention about 100 to 200 feet in the distance. What he saw was a very tall figure standing between 2 trees. The area where this took place was quite dense and not close to public access, so he was surprised that anyone else would be in the area. As the hiker continued to watch, he quickly realized that what he was seeing was not a person, deer, or even a black bear. The creature, whatever it was, stepped to the right of the observer and moved to its left in front of a tree. The witness could now see the landscape between those 2 trees, as that area was no longer hidden by the tall figure. That figure then took off running extremely fast down the hillside to its left, so it was not moving in the direction of the witness. The man told me that the creature moved faster than any human could possibly run. What was even more unusual, he could not hear any sound as it ran through the foliage and rocks. The entire encounter lasted only about a minute or 2. It was enough time for the witness to see some details. The man estimated that the creature stood between 8 to 10 feet tall, and the general shape of the shadow figure person was distinct. The arms and legs were long and narrow, almost boxy looking. The creature was positioned at a 45-degree angle toward him. He could not tell the length of the arms or legs. He did notice that the arms appeared to be bent at about a 20-degree angle and held out straight. The arms were not swinging as it moved. While he did not notice any hair or fur on the body, an interesting detail was that the entire time he saw the creature, it looked as though it was out of focus. It looked fuzzy, blurry, or smoky. The face was indistinct, but he was able to see a head. The witness did not notice any odd sounds or smells while the observation took place. The man told me that he is speculating that the creature was surprised to see him, and when it did, it quickly ran off. And then the witness also commented that he told very few people about it. He doesn't want his name used, obviously. Who would? I mean, in the climate that we live in, who would want to use their name? But this was he said exactly, I know exactly what I saw. The witness has never seen anything strange during his walks through the woods and will always wonder what he saw that afternoon. And he has also mentioned that he has this image of this creature. It's seared in his mind forever, basically. But what I found interesting about this was the fact that this guy, just 3 years ago, this month, basically, August, 3 years ago, this month, in Pennsylvania, right here in the state that I'm living in, some guy's talking about a being that he saw in the woods that was 8 to 10 feet tall, and when he looked at it at first, it looked like it was blurry or like, strange looking. That to me rang a bell, because we were talking about this Vegas alien. Initially, when what happened was when the family first went out into that backyard, when they first went in the yard to see what was there, everything looked blurry at first, and they couldn't see anything. I mean, it was like the creature was blurry, and then they're frozen in place. Angel said that he was frozen in place, like he was paralyzed and he couldn't move momentarily, and neither could his father. Said they were momentarily frozen in place, and apparently at some point after that they all tried to go back in again to reinvestigate. And I'm assuming that video that we've been looking at was something that was filmed before the police arrived, because they had contact initially. They went out the yard. Apparently, the way this went down seems to me to be they saw this thing coming down from the sky near their yard. They went out and investigated, and that's where they saw this, and it was blurry looking at first. And then they got out of there. They called the police, and while they were waiting for the police, because as we know, it took about 30 minutes for the police to show up, they tried to go out there again, and that's that video that we saw. And then they went running back out again. That's the video where Scott Roeder had isolated that little section where we see a being moving toward them, and they got out of there. And then I'm assuming that's when the police arrived shortly after that at some point. And this has not been proven as a hoax there, but it does jibe somewhat with this story that I got from Creepy Cryptids and Strange UFO Encounters of Pennsylvania by Stan Gordon. So it does corroborate somewhat with that. There's apparently beings out there that are 8 to 10 feet tall that look very strange. I mean, this thing that you can see in this video. Now, apparently, there seems like be a percentage of people among us who aren't seeing this. Like they're looking at it and their brain just ain't. It's not registering inside for some reason. I don't get that, but more people are seeing it. Like I did a poll on Spotify initially, and it was like 64% saw it, and the remainder couldn't see it. So, and that was pretty much in line with what Scott Roeder had said at the time. He said he talked to friends and family, and it was about 60-40. 60% of the people he talked to said yes, they see this thing, and 40% said they did not. And I mean, I think there's something there. I mean, I think what Scott Roeder isolated there, that to me there was something moving there. It was coming toward them. It looks very strange. It's tall. It could be 8 to 10 feet tall. We really can't tell, but it does corroborate with what they're saying. And if you look at that close-up shot of it, I mean, it's hard to tell precisely, right? But they said it had big eyes and big mouths. And to me, it looks like there's basically like a serpent-like mouth in the front, that's pretty wide, and you could see a big one, at least one of its big black eyes. The way its head was turned, looked like its head was turned slightly, and you can't see the other eye that well. But I think that there was something there, and I still do. I still don't think that nothing has come forward yet to prove that was a hoax. There are some hoaxes online. Actually, somebody today on Twitter had sent me something, sent me some videos of people allegedly getting abducted. And I'll leave the links for these videos. I'm not going to post them on here because I think it's junk. I think it's nonsense. Well, basically, some of them there's two different videos I saw, and they're pretty much the same kind of presentation. And basically, what you're seeing is in one video there's a man and a woman sitting by a pool, and then this woman just disappears, and then the male is running around looking in the pool. She can't find this woman. And then there's another video. It looks like this stuff was allegedly captured with security cams, right? And then there's another video of two people walking on just grass somewhere, and one of the people disappear and the other person takes off, and then the other person just reappears again. I think that there's a lot of fakery out there, right? And I think that, and I'll leave the links in the description of this so you can check these other videos out, these fakes. I don't want to promote them on my channel because I think that they are fake. And I'll tell you why. Because one of the reasons is because there's like where are these videos coming from? Where are the witnesses, right? Where are the people that experienced this, right? All of a sudden these videos show up online, and they're very slickly produced. I could say that, but they have like dramatic music in the background and all that kind of stuff. Like it's like somebody made these and then put them out into the world of the internet, and to me, they're fakes, right? There's fakes all over the place. There's all kinds of hoaxes going on the internet, and I believe that these alien abduction videos with the cameras, with the security cameras, are fakes. And again, I will leave the links for them so you can check them out, but I'm not going to post them on my channel. I do believe that like I've said regarding the Vegas alien, if it ever comes out that it was a hoax, the family steps forward and said, yeah, we hoaxed this whole thing. Well, okay, then I'll change my mind on that. But until something like that happens, or until somebody comes up with definitive proof to show that this was a hoax, then I'll change my tune. But at this point, no. But regarding one other thing I wanted to talk on before I leave today, before I close out today's show, is I hear this, and I'm sure other people out there think it goes through your mind, like when you hear this. You hear people who are non-believers, skeptics, debunkers saying, hey, we all have these, everyone's running around with cell phones and everything, we can't capture anything. Well, if this was really happening, we'd have evidence right now. Well, they're not thinking this thing through, okay? They're just not thinking this thing through. I mean, when you think about in the early late 1800s, early 1900s, look at photography over the last 150 years, right? I mean, in the late 1800s, they invented there was a flash lamp. I mean, I don't know if you ever see like an old movie like that's taken place in around 1900, right? And they're using these big, but when they go to take a picture of someone, they have this trough with chemicals on it, like magnesium, potassium chlorate, and antimony sulfide, right? And it blows up. It's basically an explosion to get a picture, right? To create a flash. And then by the 1920s, they invented flash bulbs, and people were using them all the time. And now we're advanced beyond that so much. When you look at just the last 100 years, it's incredible. Now, yeah, we have these cell phones. But where are we going to be? What's this going to be? What is this technology going to be like 100 years from now? These things that we are using right now, this stuff is going to be old hat. I mean, these will be antique someday, right? This phone I'm using, this camera that's on the phone, all of this stuff is going to they're going to be useless, right? They'll become antiquated because something will replace it in 100 years, by 100 years, right? It's always going to keep progressing. Technology is going to keep improving. So if something's coming here, even if it's only, say 500 years more advanced or 1,000 years more advanced than we are, right? Like people say, well, the pictures are always blurry. It's hard to see these things. How come they're all, for one thing, right? Not all pictures are blurry. Sometimes pictures of UFOs are blurry, right? But sometimes they're not. But it's hard to get video evidence of these things, right? It really is. It's hard to get like really up close kind of stuff a lot of times, right? But the other thing that people forget is that these beings, they're more advanced than we are. So obviously they would have some sort of a technology that they would know what we have. Let's put it that way, right? They already probably went through this stage, right? The stage that we are right now. They went through that stage, who knows, maybe 1,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago or 1,000,000 years ago, whatever, right? They went through these stages. They would know. They would have things, measures in place to prevent us from really trying to prove that they're here, right? I mean, they don't, for whatever reason, they are up to something here. They keep their distance. They are somewhat secretive. I mean, every now and then they'll give us a display, right? But it's always a small group of people or something like that. It's never everybody, right? They haven't made some display to us, to this world, to announce their presence to the whole world. They've never done that for whatever reason. And there must be a reason behind it, right? They're up to something. They're here for some reason. Who knows, right? But whatever the case, they would have things in place to prevent us from capturing definitive evidence with cameras, right? They just would. I mean, and we would. I mean, just say 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now, say we're traveling outside of our solar system to another planet, and we come upon a race of beings that are advanced to where we are right now here at this point in time, right? And we don't want them to know that we're checking them out, right? So we'll have figured things out where we could prevent them from filming us as best we could. Maybe some things will get through the cracks, but we'll take measures, right? We'll know how all these things work, because we've been there, done that, right? So people don't take these kind of things into consideration. Like even the smart people out there, like the Neil deGrasse Tysons, they always say stuff like, "Well, we everyone has one of these. We should have the proof." Well, really? Did you really think this thing through? Right? I don't think they do. They don't think these things through. They just make these asinine statements. And to somebody out there who hears this, that's not really engaged in this and not really interested in it, to them it's going to make sense. They're not going to think it through, right? But we don't know what these things know about us and how far advanced they are than we are. They probably have, most certainly, things in place to prevent us from getting good images all the time. So, I mean, that's something that people should keep in mind. We don't know what they're capable of doing and what kind of technology they have to prevent us from seeing them. If they could make themselves invisible, like some of these stories we're hearing here, like, the Vegas alien story, or this other story I just read from Stan Gordon about the guy seeing the thing and it looked like it was all blurry to him. I mean, they have an ability to cloak themselves, obviously, somehow, right? So there's measures in place, but sometimes some things get through the cracks, and sometimes those things that do get through the cracks, they might be blurry looking, just like that Vegas alien picture, the video there. I mean, you can't really see it, but they did get something there. There's something moving there, as far as I'm concerned. So what are they? I guess getting back to that for a second, what are those beings? I mean, you don't really. I mean, I don't know. Tall reptilians. I've heard stories like this before, where there's like reptilian type creatures that have been seen. I know there was some story a couple years ago where there was a woman in Florida that actually went to her local news channel to talk about it. She thought it was that important. It was like some woman saw something in her yard climbing up some ladder to something that she couldn't see, and then it took off. The woman in question is Trish Bishop, and it happened in 2013, and she just started talking about this just a few years ago. Anyway, here was an article about this incident in the Johnson City Press. You could find a lot of articles about this case. It was talked about a lot in a lot of different news outlets a few years back. Anyway, it says here, he appeared as if a hologram at first, then solid, then suddenly there and clear as you or I at the edge of the forest behind Trish Bishop's home in Kissimmee. It was a Thursday in March 2013, the glow of the afternoon tucking in for the day behind the trees. He stood tall, at least 6'3", perhaps 220 pounds, and certainly muscular, wearing a form-fitting tan-colored uniform, boots, and gloves. He lingered by the crepe myrtle tree in the middle of the backyard. When he turned around, it was his face, she remembers, that stopped her. Bulging eyes jutting so far out of the sockets that Bishop wondered whether he could close them. Skin white as chalk and a jaw so large it dispelled any notions the government worker had of the visitor being human. If you compare a human jawbone to his, we would be a chihuahua to a pit bull, Bishop said. Paralyzed with fear, she watched as what she believed to be an alien appeared to climb invisible steps, stopping often to snatch glances at her from where she sat on her back porch, fumbling with her phone to appear as though she couldn't see him. Her finger was pressed on the number 9 to dial for help. When he was about 10 feet off the ground, he turned his back to her and pulled himself up into a UFO, she thought, and was gone. Bishop sat stunned. I've got a freaking alien in my backyard, she thought. It would be 4 years before she told anyone her story, before she discovered the Mutual Unidentified Flying Objects Network, a nationwide organization 50 years old, and file her report under case number 84886 with the local Florida chapter. But she worried. Who would believe her? These days, more people than you'd think. Across restaurants and meeting rooms in the United States, MUFON groups still gather every month to discuss cases like Bishop's with the enthusiasm that once gripped the nation during the Cold War, when UFO sightings still made a splash on the front page. Anyway, I'm going to move forward here with this article. You know, it talks about the 2017 New York Times article, which made it easier for some people to start talking about their encounters. But anyway, let's see what Bishop has to say. Bishop stands by what she saw. She works a government security job with 3 area contractors and said she has no reason to lie. And she's on the hunt for ET now. After reporting the case in 2017, she bought 3 hunting trackers on eBay and set them up in her backyard. They're motion activated, and sometimes they'll go off in the night and capture 6,000 images, but there's nothing in the frame. She once caught a tic-tac shaped blur in the sky she believes to be a UFO. I just think it's a belief thing until you actually see them, Bishop said. But anyway, that was just one story in many. So these things appear, and they're hard to see. She basically, before she even saw the creatures, she talked about seeing what looked like a holographic image. Like she saw the craft, but she couldn't see the craft. I mean, it was like something you could see through. It was just very strange. And then this being just appeared. And this creature, she said, looked horrible. She actually had somebody draw it to show what she saw, to try to depict what she saw, and it looked horrible. But yeah, there's things going on here, folks. We just can't see it. Another thing to keep in mind too. I mean, this planet, right? I mean, only like 14.6% of the surface of this planet is populated by human beings. What about the rest? The most 71%, of course, is covered with water. But then there's other parts of land mass, sections of land where we're just not there. There's things going on here around us, right? We have no idea. We just have no idea about. And I think people need to keep a lot of these things in mind, especially debunkers and skeptics, before they go making statements, because they're not seeing the big picture. Obviously, they're just not. And one more thing before I leave is, people on Spotify. I don't make a lot of requests, but and I should do this all the time. I have people within my orbit saying, "How come you never ask people to give you positive votes on Spotify or YouTube?" And now a lot of people do, but if I asked more people would do that. So I would appreciate if because I have over 40 right now. I'm like close to 4,500 followers on Spotify, and if I had more of those followers who are listening to me, that's just on Spotify alone. That's not included. There's like 9 other platforms that I'm on, so I don't know how many followers are there. But I know on Spotify I have like over 4,500 followers, and if all of them, if more of them would give me a favorable vote, because I don't ask for this. So every time somebody who doesn't like my podcast hears me, it seems like they're determined to go in there and give me like a 1-star vote on the phone. Like if you go on your phone to the Spotify app, right, you can see that it's you could vote on this program, Extraterrestrial Reality. Give it a 1-star up to a 5-star. I would appreciate if some people would give me some positive votes, because it keeps, if I don't say anything, and as time goes on, I get the negative votes. So there's people out there who obviously hate my guts, right? Don't like what I'm saying, don't like the way I talk, and I understand that. I get it. I'm totally hip, right? They don't like hearing this topic being discussed like this so bluntly. I get it. I understand it, right? They're a bunch of prissies, right? Okay, get it. Give me your 1-star review and get out. Okay, I don't care. But if more people were voting favorably for me, I wouldn't keep going downward. Like I think I was stuck at like 3.8% total for like months, and now all of a sudden it dropped down to 3.7. I haven't said anything in months, and every time I said something, it would go up a little bit. So that's why I'm saying it again. And if people on YouTube could share this with other people. Like I don't ask for a lot of stuff, right? I never really do, and I should. Like I said, people are telling me I need to talk about that more. I don't want to. I don't like doing it, right? Because I think that if somebody likes my show, they'll subscribe, right? If they don't, then they won't. I mean, that's how I feel. Why do I need to tell them, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe? I don't want to do that every time. I don't like it. I don't like hearing it. I don't like when other people do it, so I'm not gonna. I shouldn't. I don't want to do it. I'm not interested in doing that. It's just, I mean, but at the same time, obviously, I guess I have to sometimes, and I'm doing it right now. Anyway, so yeah, if you can give me a vote of confidence, that would be appreciated on YouTube and Spotify and any other podcast app that you listen to this on. I would appreciate it very much. So until next time.